Hola, my comic collecting muckers, and welcome to another Sidebar episode. Now, here's a thing. Over Christmas, I had some time off, which was lovely. Not just to eat mince pies and turkey and stuff like that, but it gave me some time to do some catching up, some tidying up. The whole process of collecting comics, when comics arrive, because pretty much everything I get comes through the mail, is quite important to me. I am a process person. There is a process for everything, and that's how my mind works. So when my goodies arrive, they get taken out of the package, they get carefully inspected, I apply a grade to them, I update my CLZ app to change it from on order to in my collection and any other relevant information. The books get rebagged and boarded, regardless of the condition of the bags and boards they came in, because I like all of my books to be in the same bags and boards from my supplies. And finally, they get carefully stored in their new home. But it picked up quite a lot of stuff towards the end of last year, and I'd been moving stuff around. So there was still some organizing to do, and there was piles of things starting to build up, and I don't like that. That doesn't work for me. So what I did to make some more space behind me, I took some completed series and put them back into short boxes, which are, where are we? Which way? Just down there, out of sight. Still accessible, so I can still get into them if I need to. But things like Incredible Hulk Volume 2, the fantastic Peter David stuff right up to World War Hulk, and the series that ended with Incredible Hercules, I don't really interact with them. I'm not in and out of them to get stuff for my gallery, which is now out of sight over there, which you can't see, but it's still there. Daredevil Volume 2, and the last maybe 140 issues of Daredevil Volume 1. They're books that I'm not in and out of so often, so it made sense to kind of store them away back in short boxes and give this stuff some more breathing space. So I've been able to space out the books behind me a little bit more, which is really cool, and make a little section over there. At the moment, I'm probably going to move it again because that's what I do. I get everything set up, I leave it for a little bit, and then I faff around with it and change it again, because that's part of the fun for me. But that little section over there is sort of a holding pen for things that have come in that I'm going to read or to use in one of these videos, stuff like that. And also, I spent some time, I got some more divider cards or boards for the comics and labels. So I've been busy labeling the stuff, because when I am in and out of these comics looking for stuff to use for the gallery or for videos or for reading, it's a hell of a lot easier when they're indexed. And I got some nice ones for my Time Tunnel books up in the corner. Some nice plastic ones, and I got a big stack of cheaper cardboard ones for everything else, because I'm pretty sure that even though I've got them all beautifully indexed by publisher and title and issue number now, I'm probably going to faff around with that as well, because that's what I do. There's that. Now, I've also been buying and reading stuff, of course, and there's a bit in the middle, that Venn diagram bit, where I've also read some of the stuff I've bought. Let's have a look at those, shall we? So first up on buying is a big book. Opportunity came up to get this at quite a good price. Now, recently, as I've been talking about, I've been getting sort of really further into Atlas comics and pre-hero Marvel stuff. And there's going to be more of that. It's going to happen because I've started down that rabbit hole and I can't get out of it. The opportunity to get this came up. Atlas Comics Library, Volume 1, Adventures into Terror. It wasn't a fantastic price, but it wasn't bad. This brand new copy is absolutely beautiful. And this comprises the first 8 issues of Adventures into Terror, which is not actually a title I have. So it was a good excuse to buy this book. So it contains lots of goodies from the likes of Russ Heath, Gene Colan, Joe Sinnott, people like that. As with these books, it's got a beautiful introduction talking about the history of the comic and comics of that genre, and great biographies of all the creators involved. So I have bookmarked the page just to show you. I know some people say with these books, sometimes the quality of the reproduction of the old comics on new pages doesn't work quite so well. I don't have any of these old comics, but I think in this case, they've cracked it. I mean, that is gorgeous. The Thing in the Cave. And I think the sort of panel representations as well look pretty good to me. I'm pretty pleased with that. So that's one I'm going to keep not too far away from the sofa so I can dig in and out of that. I've also been back at the Bronze Age. Again, I've mentioned that sort of towards the end of the year, UK seller on eBay started sort of producing a lot of first issues, mostly Marvel, I think, Bronze Age stuff. Not cheap, but reasonable prices, but really good condition and sense copies. So I've been snapping quite a few of those up. One of those was Marvel Triple Action #1. This is really funny because way back in the day when I was a kid, I had I think issue 47 or something of this, which was 3 of the Avengers. It's the only issue I had because it wasn't a particularly thrilling comic, even though it was nice to see a few of the Avengers, Hawkeye and a couple of other dudes. And it pretty much smacked of a reprint from something else, probably an Avengers comic. But I don't remember ever seeing issue 1 before, and I was surprised to see it and see that it was the Thing, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Doom, and not the Avengers, which shows how little I knew about this series. But I thought it looked really cool, a really cool cover. Something about the sort of the white top and bottom of this, the colours, it feels unusual, but snapped that up. Having looked through it, I haven't sort of fully read it. I'm assuming this is a reprint from a Fantastic Four story as well, but it seems to feature all of the Fantastic Four throughout. So I think, Triple Action and just naming those 3 characters is a bit misleading, bit of a misnomer. But it's very, very cool. And the funny thing is, since ordering this, in the last week, I've seen 2 other people pick up this book and show it on YouTube videos. Yeah, I don't think I've seen it before. So bit like a bus. You wait ages for one and then 3 come along at once. The quest for Superman continues. I picked up Superman Earth 1 by J. Michael Straczynski and Jane Davis. Just have a wee look at it. I picked this up because I had the first Wonder Woman Earth 1, the Grant Morrison book, which was very, very good. And this was like a few pounds. Got it really, really cheap. Is new, so it's not going to hurt to have a look at that. So I'll be interested to see how that goes. And on screen, I picked up issues 11 and 53 of Daredevil. Now, as some of you may be aware, I have a complete run of Daredevil Volume 1. So what am I doing buying issues 11 and 53? Well, apart from issue 1, which I have slabbed in a 2.0, all of the other issues up to a certain point, I can't honestly remember off the top of my head whether it's issue 60 or 80 or something like that, I'd kind of set a minimum grade of 5. So what I consider to be a 5, and depending on the nature of defects, I don't mind general wear, but there's some particular, stains or pen marks or bits missing or something like that. We all feel differently about what we want for the comics, and it might even differ between the comics we have as well. What's acceptable on one title might not be on another, depending on the cover or the content of the book. I don't know. But I set that. And earlier this year, when I completed volume 1, I was going through, rebagged and reboarded all of them. Issue 11 and issue 53, I was sort of like, my feeling is this is more like a 4.5. It doesn't really matter that much, does it? But it did to me. It was just, it's a numbers thing, maybe. So anyway, the opportunity came up. I bagged 11 and 53. They're comfortably higher than a 5. For me, I'm happy with those. So they're in the collection. That's done. The next thing I got, and I've put this on screen because you need to see these books together rather than me try and hold them up in front of the screen and do that clumsily. Amazing Spider-Man 64. And that's because I had issue 48, which is one of my favorite covers. I think it's absolutely glorious. What I love about it is, I mean, the Vulture and Spider-Man look great. That washed out cityscape, the background, I think that's absolutely glorious. I like the cityscape type backgrounds, and I just think the way that was done, which really makes Spider-Man and the Vulture pop. I love that. And then when I'd seen a copy of 64, and I thought, oh my God, that's a perfect match for 48. I know sort of in terms of direction and flow of the characters and stuff like that, it's not quite a match, but just the backgrounds and the style of them, absolutely perfect. So I got a chance to pick up 64. I think it was the fill out shipping and something else I was getting. Absolutely perfect. Really happy with those. And I love seeing them together. There's a few other books with that similar sort of thing going on where I've looked at them going, oh, they'd go perfectly together. I think, I mean, I've seen other people do that with a couple of Kirby's covers where Captain America is sort of popping out the screen. I think one of them's Daredevil, is it 45? Daredevil versus Captain America. So if you've got any other interesting pairings, I'd like to know about them. But that's one of my favorites. And finally, this week, purchase I bought, this arrived. I bought an incomplete comic book. When you think just a few months ago, it was something I wouldn't have considered doing, despite forgetting I actually had a couple in my collection. Now you've got a different perspective, and that allowed me to pick up this rather cheaply. This is World's Finest, number 92. And this, for me, is all about the cover. So Kurt Swan cover, this is from 1958. So it's got a missing centerfold. But this really was all about the Batmobile. So yeah, we've got Batman and Robin on it, which is cool. And we've got Superman and Skyboy, I think they called him. The colors are really good on it. It's missing a little bit from, where are we? This corner. It's got plenty of creasing, but damage around the spine. Yet the staples are still actually holding throughout the book, which is great. Just that missing centerfold. Now, I was able to pick this up really quite cheaply from a UK seller, and I thought, hey, why not have a look and see if I can find a coverless copy of 92 and whip the centerfold out of that. Start doing a big Archivist Adrift number on. No, I wouldn't do that. I'd just take the centerfold, pop it in the book, and leave it alone, rather than start getting pots of glue out and starting to significantly damage the book. I wouldn't touch that. I'm no sorcerer. But when I had a look online, now I paid what's about the equivalent of about $20 for this. Now I had a look online, and I've seen the cheapest coverless copy of this I've seen was something like $45. I was like, how badly do I want the centerfold? Not that badly. The truth of it is, it doesn't actually affect the main story with the Batman, Bird Boy, and Super people. It affects some of the backup stories, Tomahawk, and sort of cartoony type story. A bit of Green Arrow at the back of this as well, which is untouched. And And the interior pages, the art on them, it actually looks really good. The art's great in this story. And in this story, Superman gets a sidekick, which is literally an alien boy who's fallen to Earth and seems to have the same sort of powers as Superman. So all that kind of stuff. Really enjoy it. I'll be absolutely honest. That's from 1958, so it's hokey, right? It's kind of nonsense, but it's great fun, and it looks really good. I've been reading the John Byrne Action Comics run 584 to 600. The story in this isn't worse than those. It's really, it's it's not. So really enjoyed it. It's a brilliant book to look through, even though there's a bit missing in the middle. So yeah, Missing Centerfold. I'm really happy with that, and I just think that's gorgeous. Unfortunately, the Batmobile isn't in this story, but what a cover! Fantastic. So yeah, I wouldn't rule out doing some more of that. And now this late breaking news. There's actually a couple of other purchases just arrived. Time to slip them in so I can file them away. Part of the process. Savage Sword of Conan 29 and 30. These are the British ones. So you may recall recently I'd started picking up these from issue 1. And this gives me a complete run of 1 to 30, and I'm probably going to stop there. I got them really good, reasonable prices, which is one of the reasons why I went for the British copies, not the US copies, because they'd be more expensive, and I didn't want them that bad, and it's a magazine format, so bit of an exception there. So fantastic run from 1 to 30. Most of them are in pretty good condition. Some are a bit rough, but that's okay because they're really for the reading. And that's really interesting coming on to the reading bit. Marvel feature, Red Sonja, She-Devil with a Sword, issue 1. From 1975, written by Roy Thomas and drawn by Dick Giordano. So this is another one that came up. One of these guys' sort of first issues, really nice condition. It's probably about an 8 or something like that. Really, really nice condition. Now I sat and read this the night before recording this episode. Really good read. It's adapted from a Robert E. Howard story, so he seemed to be fond of doing short one-off things. And I was quite blown away by the art in this comic book. I'm not that sort of familiar or up on Dick Giordano, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's held up well these 51 years. And the story was really good. I think there's a bit where, when they draw them on those big Bristol board things and then do whatever they do to get it to the thing where they put it into the comic book, all that stuff. I think there's a bit went slightly awry somewhere in this because what's on the page suddenly seems a bit shorter, and the dialogue and stuff, the captions, you have to strain a wee bit to read them, a bit small. You see the size of the margin at the bottom and the side and the top. So I think something went slightly awry there. But yeah, cracking read, great short story. And like I say, the art, wow, that was awesome. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Mostly this week, I've been reading Savage Sword of Conan, Volume 2. Which contains issues 4 to 6. Don't get me wrong, right? Disclaimer, Volume 1, Volume 2, the stuff in it's great. It's great stories. There's great art. What made me go, was that in the first sort of section of this book, So it might be issue 4, it might be issue 4 and a bit of issue 5. I can't really remember, and forgive me for that. There's a lot of very short stories with different characters, which is fine. You know, Robert E. Howard did that, did lots of very, very short stories and episodes in his books. And I can't say I've looked at any of the art in these and gone, there's some I like better than others. I can't say there's anywhere it's been like, oh no, I think that's bad. I don't think that at all. So there's characters called Dark Agnes and Conrad and Curwen, this horror from the tomb. So there's all sorts going on, and I know there's like a bit of a theme about black stones and things going on. But you know, I was like about halfway through this volume, and I was like, I just want a longer Conan story with some consistent art. Now, the back of these books and in some of the sort of pages in between issues, you get these fantastic, you know, variant covers that they have with the issues and all this kind of stuff, you know, which look great. They look stunning. But in terms of sort of going from one story to the next within a volume, I'd like a little bit more consistency. And in truth, in the first volume of this, I was kind of enjoying Solomon Kane a bit more because it was consistent story and art throughout. Now later, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly what issue it is. It does get into this big, long Conan story about a witch, the ensorcelled beast in Brithunia, and you know, like I say, the art and stuff's fantastic. It's really top class, and the story was really good. And that went on from, you know, I think five or six chapters or something like that, which was really enjoyable. I really liked that. That was cool. Just out of interest, I decided to crack open one of those British ones, issue 1. Now I had a few random copies of this back in the day. So I thought at some point I'm going to get stuck into issues 1 to 30 of this and really, you know, see what I make of it. Now, the quality of the paper obviously isn't as good as the new volume. And this one's slightly yellowy, but this John Buscema art, it's stunning. It's fantastic. And I'm only a couple of chapters into this, but it's a continuing story. I think I'm at the start of chapter 3. I can see the story continues even further, and it looks like it goes on right through the book. That's what I want. And I think I'll enjoy this a bit better than that. Now, I've not read any more. I'll get volume 3 of Savage Sword of Conan. It's not bad by any stretch. It's very, very, very good. It's just a case of kind of preferences. So to pick this up quite cheaply, I'm very excited about that. And oh my goodness, the art, and it's just amazing. One thing I'm going to say about these books, now I know it's different if you were clever enough to start getting individual issues when they came out. Well done. They're just too expensive to pick up now. Or for me to figure out which issues I'm actually looking at. Something that really it boils my piss is some of these books, when they put them into these book formats, when there's, I don't have a good example here, when there's dialogue in here, you see, look, you have to make this book do the splits to actually see the edge of the panels. That's not good. That's not good for anybody. Leave a bit of space around them, because I don't want to split the spine on my book. And I don't want to, you know, have to force the book apart to be able to actually read what's going on. It's a small thing, but there we go, there. Look. See how hard it is to get in and read that. That's not easy, man. Think about some of us older readers. But I mean, brilliant, beautiful volumes, these. And I think for the price, about £15 I'm paying for these. The first one was signed by one of the writers. They are fantastic. Just, a couple of things to think about, guys. What else have we got? Bronze Age or Bronze Age goodies. Spider Woman, I beg your pardon, issue 1, which is a very nice copy that I picked up. And again, back in the day, I had a number of issues of Spider Woman. Definitely issue 7 or 8, because there's a story that stuck in my mind. I'm really looking forward to getting back to it. And then some later issues. And I always found it to be really good. Carmen Infantino art. Marv Wolfman, who seems to have cleared his head slightly from his Skull the Slayer outing. And I really enjoyed this. And it took me by surprise because back in the day, I'd never read issue 1. So it starts off with sort of baldy head, not baldy head, but, she hasn't got the wig on, Spider Woman. And she's coming to terms with stuff that's gone on in other titles, which all led to the origin of Spider Woman, which is cool. And they're all heavily referenced through this. I didn't realize, having got into Spider Woman at a later point, in earlier years, she appears to be English. I didn't know that. So this is set in London, and the kind of background about her family and stuff like that appears to be the case. None of which really matters, but I was just surprised it's set in London. And it was a enjoyable read. So there's a lot of sort of cutting about the place, trying to dodge some guy from Scotland Yard, and very, very interesting. Really, really enjoyed it. It was a good read. Something that really made me laugh, and it will make people from the UK laugh. Not in a bad way at all, but Marv Wolfman's sort of handling of English, dialect and vocabulary, even for like back in the mid-70s, was quite funny. There's times when it's almost bordering on Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins. Just some of the words that get used, but it was good. It was good fun. It made me kind of chuckle. So yeah, that was very enjoyable. Next on the reading pile was Shanna the She-Devil and the Jungle Queen is Born. This courtesy written by Carol Suling and Steve Gerber. And it said when I picked this up, I was like, ooh, look at this Duranko cover. What I completely kind of failed to mention is George Tusker interiors, which means it's a joy to look at. I love George Tusker stuff. So I'd never read Shanna the She-Devil before, so I've only cracked open issue 1, had a look. Really interesting. Like Skull the Slayer, yet again, you might assume, looking at the cover, that it's basically a Tarzan-type figure. She was raised by wombats or something. I don't know. But not the case. No, she was some sort of zoological scientist or vet or something, with a lot of Marv Wolfman had a lot of environmental concerns. It's pretty clear from reading some of his stuff recently in the 70s, which is cool. And but one way or another, stuff happens to animals in the zoo she's working at. She gets to take some back to a jungle environment to look after them, and these the leopard and the panther become her sidekicks, and she basically looks after the area. Is where we're at with issue 1. And in this issue, she goes up against some scuzzy hunter type guy who's just morally reprehensible in every conceivable way. So Shanna the She-Devil sorts him right out. Spoiler alert. So I'm looking forward to seeing where. I know there weren't many issues of this, only 5. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And it's funny, they actually reference the George and Joy Adamson, the sort of Born Free thing in this book. And it's funny because you can kind of feel, whereas Skull the Slayer is like just mental. there's more of a born free feel about this, despite the fact she's sort of cutting about in a leopard skin bikini. Oh yeah, there is a significance to this swimwear being modelled by Shanna, all the rage in 1970, whatever it was, 1972. The outfit is made from the pelt of this animal's mother. So when these two kitty cats were cubs in the zoo, someone for some reason broke into the zoo and slaughtered the animals, including their mother. So she fashioned this outfit from the mother's pelt to help them bond. 1972, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. So that has pretty much been it on the reading pile. The only other thing I will add to that is, after a chat with Brian, LCS, I took the plunge and got a trial for Marvel Unlimited. The reason is I'm going on holiday soon. I'm going to have a little trip away for reading material, so I want to keep reading my comics. I thought I'd have a little look at that. And it's also a chance to look at some more modern stuff that I'm seeing people sort of showing up in pickups week by week over the last few months, without actually, buying them myself and having them sitting here if I don't like them. And I have to deal with them, whereas read them on the screen. And I started off by having a look at a Daredevil series, I think from 2019. Just the first issue, it worked really well on my tablet on the screen. So I think that's going to go quite well. I've downloaded about 60 issues or something for when I'm away. So I'll let you know how that goes. So cool. If you've tried that, let me know what you think of it. If you've got any recommendations on Marvel Unlimited, I'd love to hear about them. And until next time, stay groovy.